The smoke burned Hyunwoo's lungs as he crawled through the wreckage. His hands scraped against twisted metal and broken glass. Above him, what remained of the colony's main dome flickered with dying emergency lights. The air tasted like ash and chemicals. He had been in the farming sector when the attack began. The explosions came without warning. One moment he was checking the hydroponic systems. The next, the sky was filled with fire. Strange ships descended from the clouds, their weapons tearing through the settlement's defenses like paper. Hyunwoo ran. Everyone ran. But there was nowhere to hide. Now 3 hours later, the alien ships were gone. The silence was worse than the screaming had been. Hyunwoo pushed aside a fallen beam and found what used to be the medical center. Bodies lay everywhere. His friends. His neighbors. The doctor who had treated his broken arm last month. All gone. Hello? He called out, his voice cracking. Is anyone alive? Only the crackle of flames answered him. Hyunwoo stumbled forward, tears mixing with the soot on his face. New Busan Colony had been home to 15,000 people. He had lived here for 5 years, ever since leaving Earth to start a new life on Daejeon 7. It was supposed to be safe. The frontier was supposed to be peaceful. He found the communication center, or what was left of it. The main console was destroyed, but a backup terminal blinked weakly in the corner. Hyunwoo's hands shook as he activated it. The screen showed messages from the other colonies. His stomach turned to ice as he read them. New Incheon Colony offline. Last transmission showed attacks by unknown hostile forces. Gwangju settlement, no response to hails. Satellite imagery showed complete destruction. 35,000 people across 3 settlements. All hit within the same hour. Now this was not a random raid. This was planned. This was extermination. The terminal beeped. An incoming transmission. Hyunwoo almost sobbed with relief as he accepted it. This is Merchant Vessel Morning Star, a rough voice said. We picked up your distress beacon. Are there survivors? Yes, Hyunwoo managed. I'm here. I don't know about others. Please, you have to help us. Hold tight. We're coming in. The Morning Star landed 20 minutes later. Captain Daejung was a big man with gray hair and scars on his weathered face. He had 4 crew members with him, all carrying medical supplies and scanning equipment. They moved through the ruins efficiently, checking every structure, every collapsed building. They found 37 survivors in New Busan. Across all 3 colonies, the final count was 203. Out of 50,000 people. Hyunwoo sat in the Morning Star's cargo bay, wrapped in a thermal blanket as the ship lifted off from Daejeon 7. He stared at the view screen showing the planet shrinking behind them. His home was gone. Everything was gone. Daejung sat down beside him. The captain's hands were stained with blood from helping the wounded. I served in the military, he said quietly. 20 years ago. I've seen combat. But he shook his head. This was a massacre. Who were they? Hyunwoo asked. Why did they do this? I don't know. But we have recordings from the settlement's defense systems. We'll find out. The journey to Fortress Gwangju took 3 days. The military outpost orbited a gas giant in the next system, a heavily armed station that served as humanity's main defensive position in this sector. As they approached, Hyunwoo saw dozens of warships surrounding the fortress. Help was coming. Too late, but coming. Admiral Bo-Ra met them in the landing bay. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and graying hair pulled back in a tight bun. She had commanded Fortress Gwangju for 12 years. She looked at the survivors with an expression that mixed grief and cold fury. Get these people to medical, she ordered. Then she turned to Daejung. Captain, I need those recordings now. In the command center, Hyunwoo watched as they played the footage. The alien ships were sleek and dark, covered in sharp angles that seemed designed to inspire fear. When they opened fire, their weapons didn't just destroy buildings. They incinerated them, turned them to glass and ash. But worse than the attack itself were the broadcasts. The aliens transmitted messages as they killed. Their language was harsh and guttural, but the translation software worked well enough. Humans are vermin, the alien commander declared. You spread to planets that belong to the strong. You are weak, soft. You do not deserve to exist among the stars. We are the Vralith Dominion, and we will cleanse the galaxy of your kind. The recording showed laughing Vralith soldiers as they fired on fleeing civilians. They were reptilian creatures, tall and covered in thick scales. They moved with terrible grace, their weapons cutting down anyone who tried to escape. Admiral Bo-Ra watched it all without expression. When the recording ended, she stood silent for a long moment. Then she turned to her communications officer. Send a priority message to Earth Command. Tell them we have confirmation of unprovoked attack by hostile alien force. 3 colonies destroyed. 50,000 casualties, she paused. And send another message. Encryption level black. The old codes. Ma'am? The officer looked confused. The old codes were decommissioned decades ago. Someone still listens to them. Trust me. Send this message exactly as I say it. Bora's voice was steel. Message reads, the children are threatened. The accord is broken. Awaken. That's it? Just one word at the end? That's all they need to hear. Hyunwoo didn't understand what was happening, but he saw something in the Admiral's eyes. Something that looked almost like hope, or maybe anticipation. The response came faster than anyone expected. 18 hours after the message was sent, alarms began blaring across Fortress Gwangju. The sensor technician's voice cracked with disbelief. Admiral, we have unknown contacts emerging from quantum rifts. Multiple contacts. They're huge, ma'am. Bigger than anything in our database. Put it on screen. The main display showed the space around the fortress. Reality itself seemed to tear open in several places. Bright rifts of light that hurt to look at. From those rifts came ships unlike anything Hyunwoo had ever seen. They were massive, organic-looking things that seemed almost alive. Their hulls shimmered with scales that caught the starlight. They moved with fluid grace despite their enormous size. What are those? Someone whispered. Admiral Bora smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. And that secret was about to change everything. Those, she said, are our real friends. The ones who've been watching over humanity since we first reached the stars. The Vrillith made a terrible mistake when they attacked us. She turned to face her shocked command staff. They thought we were alone. They thought we were weak. On the screen, one of the massive ships moved closer to the fortress. As it approached, Hyunwoo could see details through the viewport. The ship wasn't just organic-looking. It was organic. And then he saw something that made his heart stop. A massive eye, golden and ancient, opened along the ship's hull. It focused on the station, and Hyunwoo felt something brush against his mind. A presence, vast and old and powerful. A voice spoke not through speakers but directly in his head, in everyone's head. We heard your call, little ones. The covenant holds. Those who harmed you will learn why the elder races fear the dragons. Admiral Bora's smile grew wider. Welcome back, she said. We have a war to fight. Admiral Bora called an emergency meeting in the fortress's largest conference room. All senior officers attended. Hyunwoo was there too, representing the survivors. He still wore borrowed clothes and carried the haunted look of someone who had seen too much death. The Admiral stood at the head of the table and dropped a data chip in front of them. What I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest level. Most people in the government don't know this. Most military officers don't know this. But you need to know it now because everything is about to change. She activated the holographic display. An image appeared showing Earth from space, but the date stamp read 150 years ago. This is first contact. Not the official one, the real one. The image shifted to show a young woman in diplomatic dress standing in what looked like a massive cavern. The woman was small and nervous, clutching a data pad like a shield. Her name tag read G1, Earth Diplomatic Corps. My grandmother, Bora said quietly. She was sent to make contact with a species we detected at the edge of our solar system. A species that had been watching us for centuries. The hologram zoomed out and gasps filled the room. The cavern was not a cavern at all. It was the interior of a ship, and surrounding G1 were enormous creatures. They looked like the dragons from ancient Earth legends, but real. Alive. Their scales shimmered with colors that seemed to shift in the light. Their eyes glowed with intelligence that felt almost painful to witness. They call themselves the Draconians, Bora continued. They are one of the eldest races in the galaxy. They were exploring the stars when our ancestors were still learning to make fire. They have seen civilizations rise and fall. They have watched species evolve and go extinct. And they chose to make contact with us. The hologram showed G1 speaking with the largest of the dragons. The creature was golden with horns that curved back from its massive skull. Its voice when it spoke made the air vibrate. I am Valtheris, the dragon said in perfect English. We have watched your species with interest, young diplomat. You are fragile, yes, weak in body, but you have something rare. You have potential. You create beauty. You ask questions. You dream of the stars and then reach for them. Jiwon's voice was small but steady. Why contact us now? Because you are about to step onto the galactic stage. There are dangers out there. Species that see weakness as an invitation. Species that would crush you before you have a chance to grow. Valtheris leaned closer. We offer you protection, guidance, and alliance. What do you want in return? Honesty, cooperation, and one absolute rule. The dragon's eyes blazed brighter. You must never weaponize our technology or genetic material. You must never try to turn our gifts into tools of domination. If you break this covenant, we will withdraw, and you will face the galaxy alone. The hologram showed Jiwon thinking for a long moment. Then she bowed. On behalf of Earth, I accept. We will honor this covenant. Valtheris extended one massive claw. Jiwon placed her small hand on it. Light flared between them, bright enough to make everyone in the present-day conference room squint. What was that? Someone asked. Bora paused the hologram. That was the bonding. The Draconians gave us more than just their word. They gave us a biological link. Certain human bloodlines were altered at the genetic level, given dormant Draconian DNA. These individuals and their descendants became what we call the Dragonbound. She pulled up medical files. Genetic sequences scrolled past, showing markers that didn't match any known human pattern. The Dragonbound are scattered across humanity. Most don't know what they are. The genes stay dormant until activated by extreme stress or by the Draconians themselves. When activated, these people can transform, partially or fully. They gain abilities that no normal human possesses. That's impossible, Captain Daejong said. I've been in space for 30 years. I've never heard of this. That was the deal. The Draconians would remain hidden, silent guardians. They built a station in the Andromeda sector, far from normal trade routes. They monitored human space from a distance. Only the highest levels of government knew they existed. They were our insurance policy, our secret weapon. Why keep it secret? Hyunwoo asked. Because knowing you have powerful protectors makes you weak, makes you dependent. The Draconians wanted humanity to grow strong on our own, to earn our place in the galaxy. They would only intervene if we faced extinction. Bora's expression darkened. The Vraloth attack triggered that intervention. 50,000 dead, 3 colonies erased. That's enough to activate the covenant. The hologram shifted again, showing the present. One of the massive dragon ships floated near the fortress. As they watched, part of the ship's hull opened. A figure emerged, flying through space without any suit or protection. It was a dragon even larger than Valtheris had been. Her scales were golden red like molten metal. Her wings spread wide enough to cast shadows over half the station. That is Kyreth the Flame, Bora said. Daughter of Valtheris, she now leads the Draconian fleets, and she is very, very angry about what happened to our colonies. As if hearing her name, Kyreth's voice suddenly filled the room. It wasn't coming from speakers. It was in their heads, gentle but impossible to ignore. Humans of Fortress Gwangju, I request an audience with your leaders. We must discuss the Vraloth attack, and we must discuss justice. Bora straightened her uniform. That's our cue. Everyone, you're about to meet a legend. Try not to embarrass our species. They moved to the main hangar bay. The space was massive, designed to hold dozens of ships. It barely felt big enough when Kyreth entered. She folded her wings and lowered her head to fit through the opening, but her presence filled every corner. Her scales reflected the lights like scattered stars. Her eyes were molten gold, ancient and piercing. Hyunwoo felt his knees weaken. He wasn't afraid exactly. It was more like standing before something so much greater than yourself that fear became irrelevant. This was power on a level he had never imagined. Admiral Bora. Kyreth's voice was warmer now, speaking aloud. It has been many years since your grandmother passed. You have her strength. I see it in your eyes. Thank you, Elder Kyreth. We are grateful for your response. Grateful? The dragon's laugh was like distant thunder. You should not have to call us at all. The covenant was meant to prevent this. The Vraloth should have known better. All the elder races know the rules. Emerging species are protected. To attack them unprovoked is to invite wrath. She turned her gaze to Hyunwoo. You survived the attack. Come forward, young one. Hyunwoo's feet moved before he consciously decided to walk. He stood before Kyreth, his head barely reaching the dragon's lowest claw. She lowered her massive head until her eye was level with his face. Tell me what happened. Every detail. Hold nothing back, so he did. Hyun-woo described the attack. The screaming. The fires. The bodies. The Vralith broadcast mocking human weakness. He told her about finding his friends dead. About the 200 survivors pulled from 50,000 people. His voice broke several times, but Kyreth waited patiently each time he paused. When he finished, smoke curled from Kyreth's nostrils. The temperature in the hangar bay rose noticeably. Her scales glowed brighter and the air shimmered around her. The Vralith will earn the price of breaking the ancient laws, she said softly. The soft tone made it more terrifying, not less. They thought you were alone. They thought you were easy prey. They will discover their error. She raised her head and her voice boomed, no longer gentle. Hear me, humans of the fortress. The dragons have awakened. The covenant is invoked. We fly to war. Those who wish to fight beside us, prepare yourselves. Those who carry the dragon-bound blood, come forward. It is time to awaken your true nature. Around the hangar bay, several people gasped. A young woman in a pilot's uniform clutched her arm as golden scales suddenly appeared on her skin. A maintenance technician shouted in surprise as his eyes flashed with inner fire. A Marine sergeant fell to his knees as wings, small but real, sprouted from his shoulders. The transformation begins, Kyreth said. You will learn to control these gifts. You will become bridges between our people, and together, we will show the Vralith and all who watch what happens when you threaten the children of Earth. Admiral Bora stepped forward. Elder Kyreth, I request permission to lead the human forces in this campaign. Granted. We fly as equals, Admiral, not as masters and servants. The Draconians and humans together. Kyreth's eyes blazed. Let the galaxy remember this day. Let them remember that humanity does not stand alone. We have dragons, and the dragons have risen in wrath. The War Council chamber was unlike anything created by human hands. Kyreth and her dragon commanders were too large for normal rooms, so they met in the open space between the fortress and the dragon ships. Holographic displays floated in the vacuum, powered by technology that blended human computers and draconian energy manipulation. Admiral Bora floated in her spacesuit, anchored to a platform beside Captain Daijung and the newly awakened Dragonbound. Hyun-woo was there too. He had no military training, but Kyreth insisted. You survived, she had said. Your voice matters. Across from them, 3 draconian commanders hung in space like living warships. Besides Kyreth, there was Thorak the Black, whose scales absorbed light like a void, and Saris the Silver, smaller but with eyes that seemed to see through time itself. They radiated power and ancient patience. Show us the Vralith broadcasts again, Kyreth commanded. The hologram displayed the recordings from the attack. The Vralith commander, a tall reptilian creature with dark red scales and cruel yellow eyes, laughed as his soldiers fired on civilians. His name, the translator indicated, was Gorthak. Look at them run, Gorthak's voice mocked. Humans are insects, soft flesh, weak bones. They build their little colonies and think they belong among the stars. But space is for the strong. We are the Vralith Dominion. We have conquered 60 systems. These humans are nothing. Kill them all. The video showed Vralith soldiers destroying a school. Children's bodies lay scattered in the wreckage. Even through the cold vacuum of space, everyone could feel Kyreth's fury. The stars themselves seemed to dim around her. 60 systems, she growled. 60 species crushed under their claws. And no one stopped them? The Vralith are powerful, Admiral Bora said. They have a large fleet. Most species avoid them. Then most species are cowards. Kyreth's voice was ice. This ends now. We will break the Vralith Dominion. But first we teach Gorthak the price of arrogance. Meanwhile, on the Vralith homeworld, Gorthak stood before his own council. The chamber was built from dark stone, decorated with trophies from conquered worlds. Skulls of various species lined the walls. Gorthak's chest was puffed with pride. The human colonies are ash, he reported. Their settlements burned. Their people are extinct in 3 systems. This is strength. This is dominance. The Dominion grows. The council members clicked their approval, all except one. A younger officer named Viktar raised his hand hesitantly. Commander Gorthak, our deep space sensors detected unusual activity near human space. Large energy signatures, unknown configuration. Gorthak waved a dismissive claw. Probably human ships gathering. Let them come. We will crush any fleet they send. But sir, these signatures don't match any known human vessels. They're massive. and they appeared from quantum rifts which human technology cannot generate. Then they are allies, some weak species the humans bribed. Gorthak bared his fangs in what passed for a Vreleth smile. It changes nothing. The Dominion is supreme. No one dares challenge us. Sir, I recommend we prepare defensive positions, at least until we identify silence. Gorthak struck the table with his fist. You question my judgment? The humans are broken. Victory is ours. We celebrate, not cower. Victar bowed his head, but his eyes were worried. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. Back at Fortress Gwangju, the newly awakened Dragonbound were training. It was chaos at first. Captain Yuna, who commanded the destroyer Incheon, suddenly manifested golden scales during a routine drill. The scales appeared on her arms and neck, harder than any armor. She had panicked, thinking she was sick. Now she stood in a special chamber, learning to control the transformation. Kirith's voice guided her, patient despite the urgency of war. Do not fight it, Kyreth instructed. The dragon blood is part of you now. It always was. You simply didn't know. Embrace it. Let it flow. Yuna closed her eyes. She felt the heat building in her chest. The scales spread, covering more of her body. Her hands became clawed. When she opened her eyes, they glowed with golden light. Good, Kyreth approved. Now try to breathe. Breathe? Fire, young one. Dragons breathe fire. Yuna focused on the heat inside her. It grew hotter, rising up her throat. She opened her mouth and a stream of flame erupted. White-hot and powerful. It melted the reinforced target 30 meters away. In another chamber, Sergeant Donghyun was discovering his own abilities. The Marine was stocky and practical, not someone who believed in magic. But he couldn't deny the wings that had sprouted from his back. Small wings, not enough to fly in atmosphere, but in zero gravity they were incredibly useful. He could move through space like a natural flyer. This is insane, he muttered. Then he grinned. This is amazing. There were others. A young engineer named Su Jin, who could see heat signatures through walls. A pilot called Tae Yang, whose reflexes became so fast he could dodge incoming fire. A medic named Haewon, whose touch could heal wounds that should have been fatal. All of them struggling to understand what they had become. You are the bridge, Kyrith told them when they gathered. Human enough to understand your people. Dragon enough to stand beside us. You will be our champions in the battles ahead. The Dragon Corps, we shall call you. The combined fleet assembled. 20 human warships from massive carriers to fast destroyers, and 15 draconian vessels, each one a living ship bonded with its dragon commander. The contrast was striking. Human ships were metal and angles built by engineers. Dragon ships were organic curves grown over centuries. Admiral Bora stood on the bridge of her flagship, the carrier Gwangju's pride. Around her, crew members worked with nervous efficiency. They were about to go to war alongside dragons. Nobody had trained for this. All ships report ready, her tactical officer announced. Good. Bora opened a channel to the entire fleet. This is Admiral Bora to all vessels. Today we strike back against the Vreleth Dominion. They thought they could exterminate us without consequence. They were wrong. We go to war not just for revenge, but for justice. For every colony they destroyed. For every innocent life they took. Let's show them what happens when you attack humanity. Kyreth's voice joined the broadcast. And let the galaxy remember. Let every species that watches know. The dragons fly again, and we fly beside our human friends. Any who threaten them threatens us. Any who harm them faces our wrath. Forward, warriors. Forward to battle. The fleet jumped to quantum space. Reality twisted and folded as they crossed light years in seconds. When they emerged, they were at the edge of Vreleth territory. A border system with 3 military outposts and a dozen patrol ships. The Vreleth patrols detected them immediately. Alarms blared on their ships. Commands were shouted in their harsh language. Then they saw what they faced and the shouting stopped. 15 massive dragon ships hung in space, scales glittering like stars. 20 human warships arranged in perfect formation, and in front of them all, Kyreth the Flame spread her wings wide enough to eclipse a moon. Her voice boomed across all frequencies. Every Vreleth ship heard it. Every Vreleth commander. And back on the homeworld, Gorthak heard it too. I am Kyreth, daughter of Valtheris, commander of the Draconian fleet. You attacked our protected people. You slaughtered innocents. You mocked their weakness. Now face the consequences. She paused and her eyes blazed like suns. This is your only warning. Surrender those responsible for the colony attacks, submit to galactic justice, or face extinction. For one heartbeat, space was silent. Then Gorthak's voice crackled over the Vralith command channel. Dragons, myths for children, open fire. Destroy them. The Vralith patrol ships launched missiles. Hundreds of warheads streaked toward the combined fleet. It was a devastating barrage, enough to level a city. Kyreth didn't even move. She simply opened her mouth and roared. The sound was impossible. It was noise and pressure and reality itself bending. The missiles exploded harmlessly, torn apart by the shockwave. The nearest Vralith ship shattered like glass, its hull cracking under the force of the roar alone. That was your chance, Kyreth said softly. You chose poorly. Then the dragons attacked and the Vralith learned what true terror felt like. The battle was unlike anything in human military history. Kyreth and her dragon commanders tore through the Vralith patrol fleet with terrifying efficiency. They moved through space like creatures born to it, which they were. Their scales deflected energy weapons. Their claws ripped through armor plating designed to withstand nuclear blasts. Their fire breath melted ships into slag. Captain Yuna watched from the bridge of the Inchin, her newly scaled hands gripping the command chair. She had seen combat before, but this was different. The dragons weren't just fighting. They were hunting. Every movement was precise. Every attack was calculated. They had been doing this for thousands of years, and it showed. All Vralith ships in the system destroyed or retreating. Her tactical officer reported. 0 casualties on our side. The dragons took no damage at all. Advance to the next system. Admiral Bora's voice commanded across the fleet channel. Keep pressure on them. Don't let them regroup. The combined fleet pushed deeper into Vralith space. System after system fell. Kyreth's strategy was brutal but effective. She offered surrender terms before every battle. The Vralith commanders always refused. Pride wouldn't let them submit to species they considered inferior, so they fought and they died. On Vralith Prime, Gorthak watched the reports with growing horror. His confidence was crumbling. In 3 days, humanity and the dragons had destroyed 15 military outposts and captured 2 entire fleets. Thousands of Vralith soldiers were dead. Not a single human or dragon casualty. How is this possible? He demanded. Dragons are myths. Stories told to scare children. Biktar, the junior officer who had warned him, pulled up ancient records. Sir, I found references in the old archives. The dragons are real. They're one of the first races, species that achieved space travel millions of years ago. The records say they're impossibly powerful, and they have laws about protecting younger species. Laws? Gorthak laughed, but it sounded hollow. What laws? The law of emergence. Any species that attacks a developing civilization without provocation faces judgment from the first races. Sir, we didn't just attack humans. We attacked a protected species. We broke the oldest law in the galaxy. The blood drained from Gorthak's face as much as a Vralith face could drain. Why didn't you tell me this before? I tried, sir. You wouldn't listen. Before Gorthak could respond, alarms screamed across the homeworld. The combined fleet had entered the system. They came out of quantum space like an avenging storm. Human warships in formation, dragon vessels glowing with power, and at the front, Kyreth herself. She was magnificent and terrible. Her wings spread across kilometers of space. Prepare all defenses, Gorthak shouted. Every ship, every orbital platform, everything we have. The defense of Vralith Prime was the largest battle the Dominion had ever fought. 200 warships versus the combined fleet. Orbital weapons platforms that could crack moons. Ground-based plasma cannons capable of hitting targets in space. The Vralith threw everything at their attackers. And it wasn't enough. The human ships proved their worth in this battle. While the dragons were powerful, they were few. The humans provided numbers and tactical flexibility. Pilot Taeyang led a squadron of fighters weaving between capital ships, his dragon-bound reflexes letting him perform impossible maneuvers. The fighters took out the orbital platforms one by one. Captain Yuna's destroyer Inchan pushed deep into the enemy formation, her scaled hands never leaving the controls. She felt connected to her ship in a way she never had before. She could sense the incoming fire before sensors showed it. When a Vralith cruiser tried to ram them, she ordered evasive maneuvers a full second before the tactical computer calculated the danger. But the battle wasn't without cost. A Vralith battleship managed to fire a full broadside into the human carrier Busan's Hope. The ship's shields collapsed. Hull breaches across 3 decks. Crew members sucked into space. Busan's Hope is evacuating. The communications officer reported. They have critical damage. Life support failing. Yuna made a decision without thinking. Incheon to Busan's Hope. We're moving to cover your evacuation. Hold on. The Incheon pushed between the damaged carrier and the Vreleth battleship. Enemy fire slammed into their shields. Alarms blared. The ship shuddered with each impact. Shields at 40%, her tactical officer called out. 30, 20. Hold position, Yuna commanded. Behind them, the Busan's Hope was launching escape pods. Thousands of crew members fleeing the dying ship. They needed more time. The shields failed. A plasma blast tore through the Incheon's hull. The bridge lost pressure. Emergency systems sealed the breach, but not before 3 crew members were killed. Yuna felt the ship dying around her. The Vreleth battleship was moving in for the kill shot. Then Kyreth was there. The dragon appeared beside the Incheon like a vengeful god. She grabbed the Vreleth battleship with her claws, her massive form wrapping around it. The ship fired everything it had at point-blank range. Kyreth's scales glowed white-hot but didn't break. She roared and the battleship shattered, simply broke apart, its structure unable to withstand the sonic force. Human ship, Incheon. Kyreth's voice was gentle despite the carnage. You protected the weak. You held your ground. This is the heart of a dragon. Be proud. The dragon's eyes glowed brighter, and Yuna felt something change inside her. The transformation deepened. Her scales became harder, stronger. She felt the full power of her dragon-bound blood awakening. When she looked at her hands, they were no longer mostly human with scales. They were dragon claws, golden and perfect. Hull breaches sealing, her engineer reported in shock. Captain, your touch is healing the ship. The metal is regenerating where you touch it. Yuna moved through her dying vessel, her clawed hands pressed against torn bulkheads. Everywhere she touched, the metal flowed and sealed. It took an hour, but she saved her ship, saved her crew. When she was done, she was exhausted. But the Incheon lived. The battle ended with the Vreleth fleet shattered. Gorthak's flagship tried to flee, but Thorak the Black caught it. The void-scaled dragon wrapped the ship in darkness, cutting off all sensors, all communications. When the darkness lifted, the crew was unconscious and Gorthak was in chains. Kyreth brought the Vreleth commander before the combined forces. He was placed in the center of the fleet, held in place by energy fields, forced to look at what he had created. The destroyed ships, the dead, the ruins of his people's arrogance. You killed 50,000 humans, Kyreth said. You destroyed their homes. You mocked their weakness. Now you face judgment. Gorthak tried to maintain his pride. I am a warrior of the Dominion. I followed our ways. The strong survive. The weak perish. Then by your own laws you have proven yourself weak. Kyreth's voice was cold. Your fleet is destroyed. Your homeworld is defenseless. By your logic, we should exterminate you. Erase your species as you tried to erase humanity. For the first time, fear showed in Gorthak's eyes. You wouldn't. You call yourselves civilized. We are civilized, which is why you will face justice, not genocide. But make no mistake. Your civilization as you knew it is over. Admiral Bora stepped forward. The Vreleth Dominion is dissolved as of this moment. Your military is disbanded. Your conquered territories are free. You will face trial for your crimes. And your people will learn a new way, a better way. Never, Gorthak spat. We are conquerors. It is our nature. Hyunwoo's voice cut through the hatred. The young survivor had been silent until now, watching everything. I lost everyone I loved because of you. My friends, my neighbors, children who never hurt anyone. You killed them and laughed about it. He floated closer, his face level with the captured commander. I should hate you. Part of me does. But I also pity you. You're so focused on strength that you never learned what real power is. Real power isn't destroying the weak. It's protecting them. Lifting them up. Growing together, Gorthak sneered. Human philosophy. Weakness disguised as wisdom. Maybe, Hyunwoo said, but we have dragons fighting beside us. You have nothing but ruins. So who was really weak? The silence that followed was profound. Kyreth nodded slowly. The human speaks truth. Gorthak, you and your officers will face galactic justice. Your species will be given a chance to change, to grow, to become something better than conquerors. She turned to address not just the fleet, but all the Vreleth listening on their homeworld. This is mercy. Remember it, honor it. Because if your species threatens another innocent civilization, the dragons will return. And next time there will be no mercy, only extinction. 3 months after the war ended, Hyunwoo walked through the rebuilt fortress Gwangju. It looked different now. The human military architecture blended with draconian designs, creating something new, something unique. Organic curves mixed with clean metal lines. It was beautiful in a way that neither species could have achieved alone. The fortress had been renamed Unity Station. It seemed appropriate. This was where everything changed, where humanity learned they weren't alone, where the dragons returned to the galaxy, where two species became one force. Hyunwoo had changed too. The haunted look in his eyes remained, probably always would, but he carried himself differently now. He wore the uniform of the diplomatic corps. Admiral Bora had sponsored his application, saying the galaxy needed voices of reason, not just voices of war. People who had seen the worst but still chose hope. He passed a training room where Captain Yuna was working with new dragon-bound recruits. She was fully transformed now, her body a perfect blend of human and dragon. Golden scales covered her skin, wings folded against her back, but her face was still recognizably hers, and her voice was still gentle when she taught. Control is everything, she told the nervous recruits. The dragon blood gives you power, but you have to master it. Otherwise it masters you. Focus on your breathing. Feel the fire inside, but don't let it consume you. One of the recruits, a young woman named Mireille, managed to manifest scales on her arms. They flickered and faded, but Yuna smiled proudly. Good, that's progress. When I first transformed, I nearly burned down my own ship. You're doing better than I did. The Dragonbound had become celebrities across human space. The Dragon Corps was humanity's elite force, and everyone wanted to join. But the transformation couldn't be forced. You either carried the ancient bloodline or you didn't. Still, applications flooded in from every colony, every station, every ship. Everyone wanted to be part of the legend. Hyunwoo continued walking and found himself in the diplomatic wing. This section was new, built specifically for the ongoing negotiations with the Vreleth and other species. The war had shocked the entire galaxy. Footage of dragons tearing through the Vreleth fleet spread across 1,000 worlds. Ancient species that humanity had never met suddenly sent ambassadors. Everyone wanted to know about the Human-Dragon Alliance. In one conference room, Admiral Bora was meeting with a delegation from the Kelvin Empire, a species of crystalline beings who controlled a wealthy trade network. The Kelvin ambassador's voice resonated like wind chimes. We wish to establish formal relations with humanity, the ambassador said. Your alliance with the Draconians changes everything. We offer trade agreements, technology exchange, mutual defense pacts. Bora, now promoted to Fleet Admiral and given authority over all human diplomatic military operations, smiled politely. We're interested, but we need to be clear about our principles. We don't conquer. We don't dominate. We protect, we cooperate. If you can accept that, we'll talk. The Kelvin ambassador's crystal body pulsed with colors that indicated agreement. Your reputation precedes you, Admiral. The galaxy has seen how you handled the Vreleth. Justice without genocide, mercy without weakness. This is rare, admirable. After the meeting, Bora found Hyunwoo waiting outside. Walk with me, she said. I want to show you something. They took a shuttle to the dark side of the station, away from the main docks. There, floating in space, was a massive structure under construction. It looked like a combination of human engineering and organic draconian growth. Thousands of workers, both human and dragon, were building it together. What is it? Hyunwoo asked. A monument and a promise. Bora's voice was soft. We're building it at the site where New Busan Colony used to be. We're calling it the Memorial of Flames. The shuttle moved closer. Hyunwoo could see the details now. At the center was a massive statue showing a human and a dragon standing together, their wings and arms raised protectively. Beneath them, carved into eternal metal and living crystal, were 50,000 names. Every person who died in the attacks will never forget what happened, Bora said. But we also won't let it define us. This memorial reminds everyone why we fight. Not for conquest, for protection, for the innocent who can't protect themselves. Tears ran down Hyunwoo's face. He saw his friends' names carved there. His neighbors, the children from the school he passed every day. Thank you, he whispered. On the Vreleth homeworld, changes were happening too. Gorthak and his top commanders had been tried and imprisoned. The Dominion's government was dissolved. In its place, a provisional council led by more moderate Vreleth was forming. Viktar, the junior officer who had tried to warn Gorthak, was now one of the council leaders. It wasn't easy. Many Vralith still believed in the old ways. They resented the occupation, the forced changes, the humans and dragons who now patrolled their space. There were protests, sometimes riots, but slowly things were shifting. A young Vralith female named Kirsa attended school in a building that humans had rebuilt. Her parents died in the war, killed when the human dragon fleet destroyed her father's ship. She had every reason to hate humans. But her teacher, a human woman named Professor Yunji, treated her with kindness. "Your people and mine made mistakes," Yunji told her class, which included both Vralith and human children whose families were part of the occupation force. "We hurt each other, killed each other, but we can choose a different path. We can learn from the past without being trapped by it." Kirsa raised her hand. "My father died because he followed Gorthak, because he believed in the old ways. Was he evil?" The classroom went silent. Yunji thought carefully before answering. "I don't think people are simply good or evil. Your father believed what his culture taught him. That strength mattered above all else. He was wrong, but that doesn't make him a monster. It makes him a victim of bad philosophy. The humans killed him anyway. Yes, in war people die. That's why war is a failure. The goal now is to make sure this never happens again, to teach both our species better ways." Yunji smiled sadly. "Your father can't learn those lessons. But you can. You can be the generation that builds something new." Back on Unity Station, a major ceremony was about to begin. Kyrith had announced she was returning to Andromeda Station. The immediate crisis was over. The Vralith were broken. The galaxy knew about the alliance. The dragon's work was done for now. The entire human fleet assembled to honor their departure. Every ship, every station, every colony sent representatives. The ceremony was held in open space, broadcast across human and dragon networks. Kyrith floated before the assembled forces, her golden scales catching the light of distant stars. "Humans of Earth and beyond," her voice carried to every listener. "When we first made the covenant with your ancestors, we did not know if you would survive. The galaxy is cruel. Many species do not make it past their first contact with hostile forces." She paused, her ancient eyes sweeping across the gathered ships. "But you did more than survive. You thrived. You kept your promises. You grew strong without becoming cruel. And when tested, you showed both the courage to fight and the wisdom to show mercy." Admiral Bora floated forward in her spacesuit. "Elder Kyreth, humanity owes you more than we can ever repay. You didn't have to protect us. You chose to. You honored a covenant made generations ago. That kind of loyalty is rare." "As is yours, Admiral." Kyreth lowered her massive head in a gesture of respect. "The covenant was not one-sided. You could have weaponized our gifts, created armies of dragon-bound warriors to conquer your neighbors. Instead, you used those gifts to protect others, to build rather than destroy. This is why we chose humanity. This is why we always will." Captain Yuna, now commander of the entire Dragon Corps, saluted. "Will you return if we need you?" "Always," Kyrith promised. "The bond between our species is permanent now. You are no longer children needing protection. You are partners, equals. But if you face a threat beyond your ability to handle alone, call us. We will answer." She spread her wings and the other dragons followed, 15 massive forms preparing to depart. Then Kyrith looked directly at Hyunwoo, who floated among the dignitaries. "Young survivor, you who lost everything but chose mercy over revenge. You embody the best of your species. Never lose that." Hyunwoo bowed as well as he could in zero gravity. "I'll try, Elder Kyrith. Thank you for everything." The dragons opened quantum rifts, tears in space that glowed with impossible colors. One by one they departed. Kyrith went last, her massive form silhouetted against the stars. Her final words echoed in everyone's mind. "Remember this day, humans. Remember that you were tested and you triumphed. Not through cruelty, but through courage. Not through conquest, but through cooperation. The galaxy is vast and full of dangers, but you do not face them alone. You have allies. You have friends. You have dragons." Then she was gone, the rift closing behind her. The human fleet floated in silence for a long moment. Then across every ship celebration erupted. Cheering, crying, relief and joy mixing together. Admiral Bora opened a fleet-wide channel. "All personnel, this is Fleet Admiral Bora. Today marks the beginning of a new era. Humanity has proven itself not just to the dragons but to the entire galaxy. We faced extinction and emerged stronger. We were given power and chose responsibility. We won a war and gave mercy. This is who we are. This is who we will always be. She paused, her voice thick with emotion. We lost 50,000 souls to get here. We will honor them by being worthy of their sacrifice, by building a future where no species has to fear unprovoked attack, by standing as protectors, not predators. The dragons rose in wrath for us. Now we rise to meet them as equals. The cheering grew louder. Hyun-woo watched it all from the observation deck, his reflection in the window showing both the young man he was and the diplomat he was becoming. Behind him, the memorial of flames glowed in the distance, a permanent reminder of the cost of peace. Beside him, Captain Dae-jung appeared. The old merchant captain had been given command of the new trade fleet that would connect human and dragon space. Quite a journey from that burning colony, eh, kid? Yeah, Hyun-woo agreed. Quite a journey. What now for you? Hyun-woo smiled. It was the first genuine smile he'd managed since the attack. Now I go to diplomatic school. Learn everything I can. Then I join the embassy program. Someone has to make sure all these new alliances actually work. Following in Admiral Bora's grandmother's footsteps, Ji-won would be proud. I hope so. She started all this. The least I can do is help finish it. They stood together watching as ships began departing to their various assignments. The war was over. The rebuilding had begun. Humanity had dragons in their hearts and allies in the stars. Whatever came next, they would face it together. In the depths of Andromeda Station, Kyreth settled into her rest. Around her, the other dragons also rested, but they did not sleep. They watched. They waited, and they smiled, as much as dragons could smile. The humans had passed their test. The alliance would endure, and if the galaxy dared threaten them again, the dragons would rise once more, in wrath. In fire, in fury, but mostly in friendship.